Have you ever thought about the process of making video games? There are many misconceptions and rumors about how the process works. Most people believe that it involves staying alone in a dark room writing out ones and zeros. But not only is it more fun than it sounds, but it's really easy to learn too. Most people already have the skills that they need in order to start making video games, usually with little training. The specific aspects of game development are coding, modeling, and animating. Usually in that order when working alone, but you can also work in groups. Working in groups has the benefit of speeding up the process as well as making the final product and the overall better quality. Even without a team, you can begin making video games in only a matter of days. Everything you need is free, from the game engines such as Unity to modeling software and things like training videos that you can find online. In addition, you can have more advanced tutorials like how to do things with video games, a book by Electronic Mediations that I used when I first started. Usually on television, coding is depicted as people writing in strange symbols or binary, but that is far from the truth nowadays. Instead, writing code for programs is done using a programming language. These languages which use command words to transfer your thoughts to a computer. Basically, what you want to happen, you type, and the computer takes care of the rest. Programming languages at first resemble math problems because they use things like parentheses and equal signs. When everything else besides that, though, is written in very basic English. For instance, if you want to move an object, you would simply type in move and then the parameters such as forward. This syntax, these restrictions that you use, are used for everything, and they're very easy to implement and causing most of the work to be done by the computer. Then something that's important to remember with the many languages that there are out there is that they're made by programmers and they're made to be easy. Nobody wants to have anything too complex, and so most of it is simple. When choosing what language that you're going to start with or when trying to learn a new one, the benefit is that you already have the primary language that you want to learn and you don't have to learn every command. For instance, there are things like dictionaries and personal translators that are built into the software that will go and tell you what words that you could use or what situations that make it easier for you. If you ever get lost, these dictionaries are very easy to use, and most of it will go and fix it automatically. Once you have a basic understanding of programming with books like Beginning Game Programming, which can help you out with advanced topics, you are going to want to watch your code come to life. This is through modeling. Modeling is any artwork that you see that is rendered digitally in 3D or even in 2D. Things like Disney movies and commercials, but most of the time 3D modeling is done in video games. When modeling, the great benefit is that you are able to see your objects in many different views. It is a strange cross between scientific design and an artistic creation, and so you're able to look at it in different ways. You can see the specific lines that it's made up of, or you can see the overall view of it with the different colors. These different ways of looking at it that you, no matter how you're inclined, even if you've never done artwork before, to create things very easily. There are things like game development with Unity, which is built for a specific game engine, but it has entire sections devoted to how to create accurate models. What's important when making models for your games is that you want to keep it simple. You want to keep your designs something that are believable and that are appealing. Video games, more than anything, are artworks, and so you want people to enjoy them, and simpler and easier art is usually the best. After you've taken a couple of days working on coding and then modeling, the last step in order to make the game really come to life is through animating. Animating, it works similarly to modeling in that it is both scientific and artistic. For instance, everything you do in animating is done through setting a specific object at a certain time. So for instance, you have, for waving, you would set the hands to be one location at one time, and then the final location another time. And then the game engine will go and do everything else in between for making it either an object wave, walk, or even talk. Everything is done through simply setting up these intervals. And because of this, how simple it can be, basic animations such as waving and moving can be done within seconds. And because the timeline is based on seconds, you can alter it with just a few clicks to slow down or speed up animations. What makes animating so easy is that everything that you see is in any sort of digital art is done in 2 dimensions. Your brain is designed to go and figure it out, and it appears to be 3 dimensions. But because everything is technically done by a computer in 2 dimensions, it's really easy to figure out how to move different objects, how to alter them, and without having to deal with all the extra space that you would have to deal with when you're working with 3 dimensions. You're able to rotate around and move things and even remove entire things with just a few clicks. Because of this, it's easy to create basic animations, but the best thing that you want to do when copying how things move is just look at how people move in real life. From, again, walking to talking to waving, you would just want to see how people naturally do it and apply that to your artwork. And that'll make everything just seem more natural. With these 3 simple skills of coding, modeling, and animating, you can begin making your own video game in less than a week. The great thing about making video games is that it uses hands-on learning. So even though initially you might not know what to do, after just a few days of experimenting and playing around, you'll get the feel of it. And over time, your skills should improve until you're making entire video games in a much shorter time than you could have been before. Hopefully, you have a lot of fun while you're doing it. And as with most forms of art, the best products come from those who don't do it for money or reasons like that, but because they enjoy doing it, because it can really be fun. Thank you.